ECC, Ihre Adresse für Ikegami, Avid und Division.
Fotos noch nicht, später, ja? Ja, ja, habe ich letztes Mal schon gelernt. Wir sind ja vor einer Woche. Would you take a look here? Yeah, here. This way. This side here. Middle. Over here, please. Directly in the middle. Over here. Right side, please. Here. Over here. Left. Middle. Right. More down. Further down here. Down in the middle. Middle. Right. And here to the left. In the middle again, please. Down here. Courtney, here. Courtney, here. Down here, down here.
Now all here, please. Yeah, nice, yeah.
You're looking more down. Courtney. Please smile. Straight ahead. Courtney to the left. Milos. Right here in the center, please. One more time in the center. Philip to the left, please. Right side, please. Right over here, please. Right here, please.
Just 1 minute, please, to go, then we start the press conference. So, ladies and gentlemen, please sit down. You've got your time for the photograph. Please sit down, so otherwise we couldn't start the press conference. We're here to... please, during the press conference, there are no flashlights allowed. Please, no flashlights. Stop photographing during the press conference. We are here for a talk. Ladies and gentlemen, please sit down. Sit down. Please sit down. So otherwise we couldn't start the press conference. It's enough time for you. Please sit down. It's enough now. Please sit down. Bitte setzen Sie sich jetzt, sonst können wir nicht anfangen mit der Pressekonferenz. Bitte setzen Sie sich. Please sit down. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the press conference for the movie screening and competition, The People vs. Larry Flynt, and have a welcome for the director, Milos Forman. Playing the part of Elsia, Courtney Love. And also have a welcome for Edward Norton. Before we start the press conference, I would please remind you that we are talking about the movie and nothing else. So please start the press conference now. Your questions?
Martin Skolais, Latvia. Mr. Milos Forman, why have you been silent for so many years?
I was not lazy. I was working. I worked for 2 years on a project which collapsed 4 days before the beginning of principal photography. And then I worked on 2 other projects, developing 2 other projects. One didn't materialize because we didn't find financing, and one didn't materialize because after some time of working, me and the writer and producer in the same person found out that we see the film very differently, and decided that we are not going to torture each other, and parted very amicably.
Please, could you be a bit more quiet?
Mr. Forman, why did you make? I was wondering why you made this picture this year and not 5 or 6 years ago. Do you think there's a special mood or appetite for this kind of movie right now?
Well, Scott Alexander and Larry Karachevsky didn't come up with the idea to make this film 5 years ago, but only I got the script last year, so that's why it was made now. Besides, I think that this theme of the film is timeless.
This is a question for Courtney. Your roots are in rock and roll, you know, and which means to me, I guess, no rules, decadence, anything goes. And now suddenly, we've seen a change in you. You seem to be prescribing more to Hollywood standards, which is say very little, never be too controversial, and don't talk about certain subjects. In fact, I saw you almost walk off a couple of interviews. What gives? What's going on with you? What are the changes? And give us an insight about what's happening with you.
Well, someone cut my hair. You know, it's kind of chic. I don't know. I guess when I go make this record that I'm going to go make, then you have to adjust your perception again. That's just the silliest thing. That's just the silliest thing. They give me free clothes now. They're fabulous. Well, because it was
Next
the
question.
Today Show. It was retarded. Oh, why was I even on the Today Show? That's my fault. So.
Okay.
Mr. Forman, do you really, in your film, you plead for the freedom of press? I mean, in Larry Flint versus... yeah. So my question is, do you really believe in the freedom of press? Or let's put it more precisely, do you really believe that journalists could be absolutely free and absolutely independent? And also to help you a bit, did you have any serious problems with the press that time after shooting the film, just like Larry Flint had?
I think that the freedom of the press is the cornerstone of democracy, more than anything else, more than elections, more than free market, more than anything else, because without freedom of the press, elections can be manipulated. Well, you know, Hitler had a free market. That doesn't tell much about democracy. Free press is the cornerstone. Now, of course, if you are talking, if there is possibility to have 100% freedom of the press, well, we will never have 100%, and that's good. But we always have to try and push for 100%. Yes, but I'm not in prison. That's the difference.
I have a question for you. This is a question about how you portrayed your character in the film. 2 questions, actually. First question is, how much consultation did you have with the actual lawyer who was representing Larry Flint? And 2, you're very natural in your speech and in the way you present yourself to the court with lots of ahs and ums. with lots of ahs and ums, and you're very natural. You could have been a very high-toned Harvard graduate the way you presented yourself to the court. Were you very deliberate in the way that you portrayed that character with your dialogue?
The answer to the first question is I had extensive contact with Alan Isaacman. He is still Larry Flint's attorney, and he was very available to me and to all of us throughout the production. So I got to spend a lot of time with him and discuss the cases and discuss just the legal principles in general and talk about his specific experiences. So I had a lot of interaction with Alan Isaacman. The second question, the interesting thing about the format of the United States Supreme Court is that it is colloquy like that. It's back and forth, and I think even the most prepared trial attorney finds that they're a little bit thrown when they get into the Supreme Court because you never know what's going to be asked. And it seemed to me that it was a scene that demanded, I guess, an informality or a lack of. It couldn't be too polished because it's impossible to be polished in that format. And if you listen to the tape of the actual Supreme thing, that it's very stumbly like that. So it seemed appropriate.
Two questions to Mr. Forman. Mr. Forman, I'm here. Thank you for making a new film for us because it's a very interesting story. But what is your opinion about the policy of anti-pornography lobby condemning you in glorifying pornography? It's the first question. And didn't you feel something connections between Larry Flint and McMurphy from your Cuckoo Nest? Because McMurphy was struggling for freedom, and Larry Flint is also struggling for freedom. Thank you.
Well, the answer to the second question is McMurphy and Larry Flynn has both, for me, one thing in common. I don't know if they are so courageous or so crazy. And the first question, what was the first question?
About anti-pornography lobby condemning you in glorifying pornography.
Well, first of all, I will be very surprised if somebody will find this film glorifying pornography because I am, for myself, I am not a big friend of pornography. I never bought Hustler in my life. I saw it. That's probably I never bought it. And to be honest, the tastelessness of pornography really doesn't bother me. I don't think that there is any photograph in the world which an adult person cannot see. But I'm just finding pornography rather boring because it's, you know, how many times you can appreciate the same joke and laugh at it. This, pornography is a price we have to pay for the freedom of the press, because the laws will never be formulated in a way that it's against it's all right, it's legal to photograph a naked woman's body with the legs spread 12 degrees, but 13 degrees is against the law. That will not be like that. It's always, the laws that are always formulated that whatever is trying to destroy the moral fabric of society should be punishable by law. And it sounds noble, right? But after a while you'll find out that you make some silly joke about some public figure, and suddenly here you are facing the court because the public officials are the pillars of the society, and if you are attacking them, you are attacking the moral fabric of the society. I lived through this, and I guess some of you here also lived through this kind of times. So, you know, you open the door for censorship, it never, you know, stays open just a crack. So I think pornography as it is a price we are paying for the freedom of the press.
There's a question to Mr. Forman about the way of acting, working with the actors. I've been reading a number of times the actor praise your ability to give them freedom to bring out the best in them. Could you tell us something about the way you work with the actors?
Well, they are really praising that I usually fell asleep and let them do their thing, you know. No, you know, it might sound a little pretentious what I'm going to say, but it's absolutely the truth. The whole secret is in to cast right. If you cast right, you don't work with actors. You are just having a good time with them, and more you try to work, more you spoil.
Question for Milos Forman. Well, I'd like to ask you the fact that being born and that you created your first part of your work in an Eastern country where all we knew, I come from Romania, as I told you, you created under a communist dictator, no? Did that help to develop this urge for freedom, and so that you can express it as somebody that has missed it, and that is so powerful? This is the first question. And the second question is about your cooperation with Oliver Stone, because in a way this movie looks like a second part signed by Milos Forman, but to Born Killers. There are things in common, and I want to know if Oliver Stone finds something in the subject that resembles his ideas and things like that. Thank you, Mr. Forman.
Mm-hmm. Well, I must tell you, Oliver Stone as a producer was absolutely wonderful. He never, ever tried to impose on this film anything against my will, and he was always very supportive to this film from the very beginning till this moment. So I really don't know. You would have to find Oliver if he's fine, if he feels that there are if there is some relationship between his movies and my movies. I don't know. He, for example, I know that when I met for the first time the studio executive and the writers with about this project, and so my first question was, why Oliver doesn't want to make this film? It's wonderful. And I was told that Oliver felt that this film needs a different approach when it comes to the sense of humor than he would bring to this film. And I was very impressed by this answer, you know. So what was the first question? I forgot meanwhile. Yes. Definitely. I think if I didn't live long enough in a society which was dominated by censorship, I don't think I would have that kind of a passion I have for this film, to make this movie. Yes, definitely. Okay.
To which extent did you face censorship yourself with this film?
With this film?
Yes.
None whatsoever, except that I was aware that there is a certain kind of a censorship which I would call a self-censorship. For that reason, the film only suggests briefly, but I think very clearly, the tastelessness, vulgarity, and brutality of some images in Hustler magazine. If I tried to put more of this stuff in the film would never be made.
My question is for Courtney Love.
I can also mention the situation with the poster, which poster you are seeing here in Berlin was sort of self-censored by Motion Picture Association in United States. United States, we are using a different poster. When I talked to the president of the MPAA about the situation, he explained to me that they are very strong pressures from very vocal and loud interest groups from far right to far left to introduce in the legislation in the Congress and the Senate laws which would basically change the First Amendment. And it's much more important to protect the integrity of the work itself and not to waste the energy to fight for a poster. I don't like this, but I respect it, so I accepted it.
My question's for Courtney Love. Are you disappointed at not being nominated for an Oscar after so much discussion that you would, and why do you think you weren't chosen?
No, not really, because I think it was a really great year for female performances. Pretty much everyone that got nominated, I think, utterly deserved it. And also, I got really pressured, you know, as he said, I come from rock. And so, you know, I don't have the biggest body of film work behind me, and any film work I do have behind me, I don't want to talk about. I think that they kind of, you know, want to see me prove myself a little more, you know, and that's fine. But also, the studio kind of pressured me to go for Best Supporting Actress. And two people that really, well, a number of people influenced me, these two guys, and Sharon Stone, actually, because the year before she had been pressured for the same thing for Casino. And she said, and Milos said, and Edward also said, you know, how many times in your life do you get to choose a situation like that? And also Milos said, it's a lie, it's a lead part. So I went for what I felt was the reality of it, and I didn't get it. And besides, you know, I'm going to present, and the whole thing isn't about who wins, it's about who wears the best dress.
This is a question for Courtney Love as well. We recently have seen, can you hear me? It's a question for Courtney Love as well. We recently have seen many musicians going into the movie business, John Bon Jovi, Whitney Houston, whatever. I would like to know what your motivation was, and do you perceive yourself as a movie star or an actress now?
Yeah, I am an actress. And, you know, kind of I was before I was even in a band in those horrible movies that we're not talking about. But in the 80s, when I was sort of doing that in Hollywood, I just got so sick of it that I think I needed to go run off to Minneapolis and start a punk rock band to get that out of my system for about 5 years and scream. It's pretty healthy for me too, because sometimes I see like actors that should have done that, and now they're just sort of repressed and trying to sort of be, you know, rock. They're repressed rock stars or something. So I don't know. It's a weird transition. I don't think anybody's really done it successfully, but I really don't care because I love to act. And now that I'm a little older and my daughter's a little older, I'd kind of rather have her go to kindergarten. It seems more respectable, you know, saying, you know, my mom does this instead of, oh, my mom stage dived on your mom.
Another question for Courtney Love. How do you feel about Larry Flint before and after doing the movie? Your point of view on him.
I met Larry a lot of times. I like Larry. I think he's an okay guy. I'm a feminist, so, you know, my feelings about pornography are in, you know, a certain way in line with some of the feminist bottom line, even though I feel like Milos, I think it's boring and it's just a folk art that's been around since at least the Greeks. But, you know, I think that and maybe this is digressing from your point, but it is about Larry. I think that what the feminist reaction does is it completely misses the higher point, which is gender free. And, the higher point is that people, I mean, if they go after pornographers first, as he said, the door just keeps opening wider. Who are they going after next? Well, homosexuals and then feminists. So, I mean, that's where it would go. So it seems very myopic to have that attack on him. I think what he does for a living is, grody, but I like him.
Hi. My question is to both actors. Great performance for this film, really. Congratulations. My first question to Courtney is, how did you prepare yourself for this very demanding part? To Edward, how easy or difficult is to work with Mr. Forman? Thank you.
You go first.
No, go.
No, I really think you. Like if you want.
How easy or difficult? Very, very easy. So easy that it's difficult, sort of. It's true what he said. I remember about Milos doesn't give a lot of instruction. I remember we had some discussions about the role before he offered me the part, but then once I had auditioned and he'd offered it to me, I remember I got very excited, so I called him and I started saying, so what do you think about this guy, and what about this, and what about this, and what about this? And he listened and listened and listened, and then he goes, all right, I'm going to let you ask me one question, and after that, no more. So I got to ask him one question, and after that he would not talk about the character, because I think he likes to let the actors figure it out and bring to it whatever he saw in them originally. So he doesn't mess with you so much, which is not very nice. I think the thing that impressed me the most about working with Milos, though, is that for all the critical acclaim over many years, he remains sincerely enthusiastic about the process of collaborating with other people to figure out the heart of a story, and it was one of my in theater or film. It was really one of my best experiences, just in the sense that it was a very sincere and fervent collaboration with Milos and Courtney and Woody, and to find an auteur, a famous auteur who's still that open to other people's ideas is really exceptional. So he's like a father.
And to me, it was about, I don't get to answer the same one. I have to answer a different one. Well, I prepared for it by basically wondering if I was going to get it for about 3 months. And being in that kind of suspense, so I became detached a little bit. I watched a lot of footage of her. I read a lot of biographies of women who self-destructed. And the appeal really to me was to portray a descent like that, get it out of my system so I don't have to do it. And also working with him, I didn't have to, I didn't have to prepare so much, because I just kind of went for it and went for what I thought and what I felt. And whenever the basic direction from him was, whenever I felt the existence of the camera, he could tell, and he just said, "Don't act, stop acting," and so I learned a lot from that. And basically, if I ever get married, then he's walking me down the aisle. So,
actually, I would say one of the other things I would say, particularly about Milos as compared to sometimes other directors I've worked with, is he has a completely infallible instinct for the unrepeatable moment. Like what Courtney was saying is really true. He has a really amazing instinct for a really true moment. Sometimes you'll work with directors who who are happy to choreograph it, I think, and really orchestrate the way a scene is going to play, point by point by point. And Milos, I think, I learned a lot from Milos in terms of seizing or appreciating those moments where things happen that are unexpected and not repeatable, really. And someone asked about the Supreme Court scene and how natural it feels, and I have to admit that we did it, but we also did a few takes where it was a little bit more polished. And when I was in the editing room with Milos, I remember looking at it and saying, well, this one's a bit more polished. And he said, yeah, but this one is more true because it was not so well prepared. And that's the one that he picked and that everyone has responded to. So that was an interesting education.
And I'd like to say one more thing about it, too, not to just butter this up, but just to clarify about Milos and about creativity and fostering it in general. I think it's very rare that you find a famous director who's one of the best directors in the world who is going to relax, lay back, and let everyone just sort of be and foster such a great environment. To me, it was a great joy and caused some real catharsis and transformation to work with someone like that who understood me on a very complex level. Didn't know anything about me, all the myth-making, weird archetype stuff at all, and really fostered amongst all three of the principal actors this great cohesive sense of just throwing it against the wall to see if it sticks. And it was really one of the most positive creative experiences I've ever had.
Well, this
Was that nice?
the answers to this last question we rehearsed the whole morning. But let me add one thing. You asked about the preparation. Just to correct a little bit, because for me it was shock to find out a perception we have about the rock and roll divas, right? I interviewed over 60 young ladies for this part, and the agents always ask me, what do you want them to prepare? And I always say, listen, whatever they want. I don't, if they want to prepare scene or two, if they don't want to prepare anything is fine with me. Now I met about 60 young ladies, 59 of them professional actresses. The only one who came to the first meeting and knew the whole script by heart was a rock and roll diva, Courtney Love. They are not shocked. I am shocked.
Well, not you. Behind, please, in the back.
Mr. Forman, thank you very much for your hint to, I'm on your left, on Oliver Stone and his humor or absence of humor. Now, my question is to Mr. Norton, though. It seems like the film, well, actually was less on humor than maybe the magazine is, but in one point, in one scene it showed, and that is you taking it to court. And I think that you probably studied this well, and you knew that Isaac Mann tickled the judges to show humor as judges in their robes. And this seems to be a very significant part in the whole story. And I wonder if this is so, that if he had not succeeded to make the judges laugh, the case of the Mark Campari ad would not be covered by the First Amendment. Thank you.
That's very perceptive. There's two things. One is that in the history of the United States Supreme Court, the case of Larry Flynt versus Jerry Falwell is the only case where there was laughter recorded in the Supreme Court. In the whole history of the court, that's the only case where there's laughter. And Alan told me that a lot of people said to him going into the trial, don't try to make a joke because they don't like it. And the first time that he made them laugh, he didn't really mean to. He kind of just said something that made people laugh. But then the second time he did, and he told me that when he told me that when they laughed and when all the justices laughed, he knew that he was home free, that he had won the case, because it was exactly that. Once they laughed, that was exactly the point, that you can't, if you can laugh at this, then you can't take it that seriously. And so it was one of those magnificent moments where the whole thing turned on exactly that, on making the justices connect with it on some kind of a human comic level. And it happened. I think it happened very spontaneously. I don't think he went in there planning it, but that moment is in the film is very true to what actually happened.
Mr. Forman, in our Berlinale summary from today, it's written that Mrs. Courtney Love got the role with a little help from President Václav Havel as well. Would you like, or would she like to elaborate on that a little bit? And a very brief question. You've been nominating for a third Oscar. Do you expect an Oscar hat trick this year?
Well, what's happening always, when finally it came down to 3 young ladies for this part. Each one excellent, each one very different. And although my heart from the beginning was going to Courtney, one always has doubts if my heart is not failing you, like sometimes it does when it comes to personal life, right? So I like to, just check my instincts with very few of my close friends. And I showed the screen test of these 3 young ladies to Václav Havel and his late wife Olga, and I was very happy that they very strongly, enthusiastically voted for Courtney. So, and when it comes to the Oscars, you know, whoever will tell you, oh, this time for sure I want to lose, is lying. But I never speculate about these things.
This is a question to Mr. Forman. Oder?
Yeah, please speak in the microphone.
Yes, this is a question to Mr. Milos Forman. I would like to know if your character, Larry Flynt, is someone you would like to be with. I don't mean the real one. I mean your figure in the film. Do you would like to be friend of him?
I'll tell you, the character of Larry Flynt fascinates me. Absolutely fascinates me. The contradictions and the ambiguity of that man are just fascinating for me. Yes, it is. That's one of the reasons, you know, which made me so intrigued. I would like to spend time with him just to find out who he really is. I don't know it till today. I don't know if it's a bravery, his antiques, or a lunacy. I don't know if he is a really conscious fighter for our freedoms, or just a coward hiding behind the First Amendment to sell more dirt. Or is it possible that he's both? And if he's both, which one is he more? I really would like to find out.
Monsieur Forman, question en français. Monsieur Forman, la structure dramatique de votre précédent film américain,
Mr. Forman, I think the way you shaped the drama and the situation in the American film in general, that is something which has always been full of surprises. That is, whenever you shape and design a film, surprise plays a great role, and that's true in this film too.
Familiar with the theories about the structures and dramaturgies. I think that in constructing a movie, a story for a movie, you are led by certain instincts, and I really can't say that the structure of this film is in some way very different from the structures of other films I made. I don't see it. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I was wondering that when you were talking about Larry Flint, I mean, how much is Woody Harrelson actually giving us a Hopkins kind of Nixon performance, or how much is he glamorizing the character, and aren't you in danger of glamorizing this pornographer by having such an attractive star?
I don't think that many people will be turned on, and after seeing this film, they will want to run in the street and buy Hustler magazine. I am absolutely sure that I wouldn't call this glamorizing this character, because yes, somebody told me, well, how can you make him such a charming rogue? How? Because he is a rogue and he is charming. That's the truth about Larry Flynn. When he wants to be charming, he's charming. But besides that, I think it's absolutely clear what kind of taste is his, how vulgar his magazine can be, what a glamour in a man who at the end of the film ends up alone, lying in the bed, paranoid behind the steel door, paralyzed, talking to his dead wife on the television screen and hearing the line, I will never be old and ugly, you will be old and ugly. What kind of glamorizing it is? Would you, for example, say, yes, of course, pornography is part of this story, but so much is a teenage suicide part of Romeo and Juliet? Does Romeo and Juliet glamorize teenage suicide? Does Monsieur Verdoux glamorizes a mass murderer? I think it's a demagogical question. Sorry to say that.
I'd like to add something to that. What you said about glamour, Romeo and Juliet, etc. And this is back to the feminist thing. What I find also, I just want to add this, really sad about the myopic idea of it is that, it's the typical situation of liberals picking on liberals. If Gloria Steinem wanted to pick on the most offensive film I have ever seen, which was a Bruce Willis action film called The Last Boy Scout, where women were blown up right and left, most misogynist piece of crap I've ever seen, she'd have no effect on it, absolutely none. Because how could a liberal feminist faction affect a big alpha male action star movie? No one would listen, and I think that that's really sad. And that film in particular, and many others like it, glamorize the idea of denigrating women so far beyond this film. It's not funny. So that's my little statement.
Question to Mr. Forman. What were the 3 most important things in Larry Flint's story that attracted you?
I didn't hear the question. Oh, well, it's simple. It was the story, the characters, and what the film is about. Freedom of the press. These 3 combined, for me, that was a dream, such a script.
Another question for Ms. Love. We're talking about the freedom of the press, and some journalists most certainly have taken the liberty of writing stories about you that probably never have happened. So I would like to know whether you see any redeeming features for the press.
Well, this film was quite a lesson to me in that, as I have sued journalists and taken them to court. So this case was about satire, not slander and libel, and that's sort of the conclusion I've come to. It was also about protecting your right to write stupid, crappy stuff about me, and so because I really fervently learned and believed in this film as it went along, especially, I sort of had to amend. I had to, if I'm going to believe in it, and I'm going to believe in the First Amendment, I had to amend some of my feelings about that. So I let a lot more stuff slide and don't get pissed off like I used to. So that's a cure, for me.
Last question, please.
Hello?
Here. My question goes to the two actors. I would just like to know what you've seen of Berlin, how you like Berlin, and which place you still gonna go.
How is the weather?
You mean this time? Oh, I played the Loft once. Oh, see, no one knows what the Loft is in here. Oh, okay, good, yeah. I went to the weird bondage store for like some, you know, some garters. That's all I. Oh, and I went to Jill Sander. Fabulous. That's it.
So thank you for your attention. Thank you for you being here. People versus Larry Flynt. Goodbye. Thank you.
ECC, Ihre Adresse für Ikegami, Avid und Division.